You might not be surprised when I tell you got a couple of closers leading off the Panic Player video. Might be surprised to find out they're brothers. I also have a pair of Jays, some big names here that are still not getting it done for fantasy. So what should you do? If you love watching baseball and playing fantasy baseball, you probably love playing MLB The Show on PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch. Well, the best place to get those stubs without paying full price is MMOAH.com. On top of their already discounted price, you get an extra 5% off by using code ENDGAME. You can build your perfect Diamond Dynasty even faster by clicking the link in the description below and using our promo code. But the headliner here, maybe we should just kind of kill that trumpet solo introduction for Edwin Diaz. We're not going to be hearing it anytime soon. It looks like Diaz might be demoted, and it actually might be voluntary. At one point, Edwin Diaz was the most dominant closer in the bigs. Of course, lost last season due to injury. Was pretty good this year, looking like his old self. But man, he has run into, I would say, pretty rough times. 3 straight outings, giving up at least 1 run, and the worst of which, he gave up 4 runs in just a third of an inning against the Marlins. Obviously, that has led to some concern, not just among the Mets fans and fan base, and his skipper considerably worried as well. But Diaz has said exactly what you don't want to hear from a closer. He said, "I won't lie, my confidence is down right now." Like I said it before, probably the hardest job mentally in all of baseball is being a relief pitcher, specifically a closer. You come in, after sitting out all game and watching and waiting in the most high pressure situation, trying to face some of the toughest batters in that lineup. And it can get to you sometimes, no matter how good you are. Sometimes even the best closers have rough patches. So here's the thing with Diaz. How long is it going to last, or is he even going to get a chance to earn that job back? Well, he has said he is open to working in lower leverage situations until he gets that confidence back. And sure enough, Reed Garrett picked up a save on Sunday. Garrett has been the best option out of that bullpen, so it makes sense that for now he handles the closing duties. But you've got to think this won't be permanent unless Diaz really just implodes or just doesn't get it back. He's been around long enough. You think he's going to do it. I mean, the good news here is it's not a physical issue. He said, no, I'm fine 100%. It's not injuries, nothing like that. It's all mental. But on the other hand, that might be tougher to recover from because there is no clear healing pattern. There's no obvious fix to this. I do think he'll figure it out. So I would say right now, the panic level, yeah, it's as high as you can get, probably about a 9 right now because it looks like he isn't the closer for the time being. But this also could present, if you are not averse to risk, a buy low opportunity. I would say if you're in need of saves, if somebody's panicked and willing to sell low, this might be a good time to strike because I feel like Diaz is just too good. He'll figure it out eventually. It might take a week, 2, who knows how long, but as long as he's right physically, I think eventually he becomes the closer again. Now you might know that his brother Alexi Diaz in Cincinnati, also the closer. How long is that going to last? Well, we'll see because he's arguably been worse lately than Edwin Diaz has been. Sure, he's got 7 saves on the season. He's also got an ERA over 7. It's a 7.02 ERA and a 1.68 whip. This is somebody who was an all-star last year. He's been the Reds closer. There should be no doubt that he's the guy there. But how much longer can they keep trotting him out there if he does this? And while Edwin Diaz's latest outing has been really bad, but Alexi Diaz has been more consistently bad throughout May. 6 games that he's appeared in, he's allowed multiple runs in 3 of them. And in fact, in 4 of his last 7 outings, he's allowed at least 1 run. But you should be a little less worried about Alexi Diaz because, unlike his brother, right now looks like nothing's going to change. In fact, skipper for the Reds said, he's still the guy. We have confidence in him. Nope, nothing to worry about. We'll see if David Bell regrets that, but look, for the time being, nothing's going to change here, so they're going to keep using Alexi Diaz. And I kind of get why, because right now, they don't have a better option. I mean, honestly, if I look throughout that Reds bullpen, I can't even name a player who I think would be a better option. I mean, Lucas Sims maybe kind of has the stuff, but man, he's had a lot of inconsistencies through his career. Emilio Pagan, a veteran, I mean, he's got some saves on his resume. He actually just wound up getting hurt this weekend. Fernando Cruz, I don't really know, only closer at the AAA level. I think Alexi Diaz also figures it out. Again, doesn't seem to be anything else going on here, just a rough patch. It happens. You really hope he figures that out. I think he will. So, I mean, look, this is a closer who's getting hit hard. You've got to panic here. I'm going to put the panic meter at about a 7, though. I do think eventually he does also figure it out. Now, as far as hitters, we've already talked about a couple of Braves players. Matt Olson has been really slow to really warm up this season. Austin Riley has been disappointing. So now let's go on to another player who just isn't giving what you really hope for in Michael Harris II. Right now, Harris batting .253, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. I mean, there's plenty of players that you scooped up off waivers that have better stats. And one of these kind of hidden stats is that even though he does have 6 steals, he's been caught stealing 3 times. Not a good success rate, and if that continues, then he might get the red light a little bit more often. That's going to suppress his steal totals. So what's going on with Harris? Well, a lot. And I'll just say that, look this nifty graphic on StatCast, you can see some of the main issues. Noticeably, chase rate as far as swinging outside the zone and missing. He's got the second highest rate. Should I say the second worst rate? Only Harold Ramirez is worse. Harris is swinging at some really bad pitches, and of course, that's never a good thing. His barrel rate is really low. Sweet spot rate is really low, so not really even making great contact with the ball when he does. So even though his strikeout rate overall isn't the worst, he's just making some bad decisions at the plate. Now, on the one hand, you can say you point to last year. Remember, in the first half of the season, he also kind of got off to a really sluggish start. Hit .255 in the first half, and then hit .325 in the second half. And yeah, he is still getting you some of those counting stats, a few home runs, a few steals. It still feels very underwhelming for somebody who was pretty much a top 50 draft pick. So the question is, how much better will he get? Can he turn it around quickly before we're left wanting, and already it's July and August, and we're like, what happened here? I'm going to try to be reasonable here and set the panic meter at about a 5 and say, I think we're going to see something very similar to last year where by the season's end, he'll get you probably about 20 home runs, should get you 25 steals, prorating what he's done so far. He's kind of on track. I mean, the power does need to pick up, but if his bat does start to heat up in the second half, he'll wind up doing that as well. And I think he will because, again, this whole team is not hitting at a historic clip like they did last year, not surprisingly. Once Olson picks it up, once Riley picks it up, they'll all start to benefit. So I think for right now, with Harris, it's frustrating, but you're just going to have to be patient. Should you remain patient with the Blue Jays, who are, I'd say, the most underachieving offense and definitely one of the most disappointing in all of baseball? Spoiler alert, no. I talked about George Springer weeks ago, and not much has changed. He's still disappointing. Right now, his slash line, 201, 281, and 296. Not great, and the counting stats, 3 home runs, 7 steals. You probably get tired of hearing, well, he's getting you a few steals. I mean, come on. Overall, this is not what you bought him for, or not what you expected when you drafted him. Springer has been a long-time fantasy asset for years. Is Father Time catching up with him? I actually think he might be. If you look at George Springer's 2024 so far, besides the underwhelming expected stats, the low batting average and all that, you have to look at the fact that his exit velocity is significantly down. And this is something that kind of started last year and the year before, and now it's going down even more. But also, look, one of the earliest stats to kind of be sticky, if you will, that you could read something into that won't change massively is max exit velocity. That means the hardest hit ball that you've got, right? That's something that if you look at it early in the season and somebody's hitting the ball really hard, that actually can track pretty well year to year, and that can be a sign of something. And for Springer, it's bad. Under 110. And StatCast has that new bat speed metric. Well, less than league average for George Springer, 42nd percentile. Is he losing a little bit of his power? It looks like he is. And so he's not hitting the ball as hard. It means fewer line drives, fewer home runs. It's just looking like it might be the end of an era in terms of fantasy dominance. And I'm not saying you have to go out and drop him, that he's completely worthless, that he can't get better. But it looks like maybe time has caught up with him a little bit. And the Blue Jays now dropping him down instead of his signature leadoff spot, which also made him so valuable. He's down to 6th in the lineup, at least he was on Sunday. If that continues, that's also going to suppress his value. And let's just face it, this whole Blue Jays offense, again, has been terrible. Only the White Sox have scored fewer runs than the Toronto Blue Jays this year. Hard to believe, but it's true. And the power, it's not just Springer, it's everybody. Only the White Sox and the Washington Nationals have fewer home runs on the season. The Jays are still on the hook with him for 2 more full seasons of that 6-year deal he signed. So, I don't think a team's going to want to take him on. He's probably stuck there. They're just going to have to make the best of that situation. Man, I really hope, just not even for my own fantasy team's sake, but just for the sake of baseball, that Toronto does not wind up being one of the worst teams in the American League this year. But, man, things have got to change quickly. Which leads us to Bo Bichette. That's right. You could have been talking about him here every single week, continues to disappoint. It's hard to believe that a young player like him in his prime now, somebody who's one of the league leaders in expected batting average for the last couple of years, is now down to a 244 XBA. And that barrel rate, very low. The power has pretty much evaporated. We already know the speed disappeared last year. So what is he offering, honestly? Not too much these days, and it's not like it was just a rough start to the season. In May, things have not gone any better. His last 53 at-bats this month, 208 average, 1 home run, 1 steal. The thing with Bichette is this didn't really come out of nowhere, because even though he wound up hitting for average last year, things just were not the same late in the season. Some injuries kind of bothered him. Didn't seem like anything serious, but he has not looked the same. You've got to wonder if there's something else going on here. But for some reason, now we see for a prolonged period of time, he just is not the same hitter. So I'm going to say, as much as I would hate to drop a player like that, if you're in a shallow league, 8 or 10 teamer, I think just go for it, because I don't see this getting much better. I'm setting the panic meter to a 9, because this does not look like the Bo Bichette that we remember. And to end on a sort of positive note, I was just going to say that on the live show, had some questions about Andy Pajas of the Los Angeles Dodgers. People asking, what's up with him? Is it time to move on? And I was pretty much ready to cut bait, because he had not hit a home run since May 4th. In rough May, hitting only 238 after hitting 300 in April and almost the same amount of at-bats. It looked like all that power just disappeared, and now it looked like his playing time might disappear. Jason Hayward activated off the IL. It would be easy to send a guy like that back down to the minors if he stops hitting and a veteran is ready to take his place. And then sure enough, on Sunday night, he hit a home run. They had him batting 5th. So it looks like maybe a little premature to get rid of him. Now, it doesn't mean those things can't happen. Doesn't mean he's guaranteed to play every day from now on. Doesn't mean he can't go another 2 weeks without hitting home run. But I'll just say for now, let's stay patient. He is a rookie. He's going to go through some highs and lows. We saw the highs. We've seen the lows. Let's see if he kind of evens out, or maybe he gets hot again. So right now, let's just say we'll chill on him a little bit, set the meter to a 5. Not saying you have to drop him or have to add him either way. If your team could benefit from having him, keep him on there. But I don't think he's also a must-hold going forward. It might be time to move on from some of those players. But if you need some replacements or you just need a boost in your lineup, don't forget, got waiver wire picks for you every week. Here is the latest video if you haven't seen it yet.